Okay, I want to go over interim assessment one, which we took last week. Most of them I went over in class. I'm just going to go over it really quickly. The first one here, the answer, I'm just going to circle the answers in case you didn't do that. Two would be the answer. We just check in, plug in 5, and the 5, 10 minus 1 is 9. Absolute value 9 works. And negative 4 gives you negative 8 minus 1 is negative 9. Absolute value is positive 9. So that's the answer there. Both of those work. That's a plug-in. Nobody should ever miss that. This one's a little trickier. Technically, what we want to do is do y plus 8 is greater than 3, and y plus 8 is less than negative 3. Actually, or would be the middle there. And this becomes, we subtract 8. Y is greater than negative 5. And over here, we subtract 8. Y is less than negative 11. The only one that has both of those is this one right here. And if we get lost, we can just pick numbers. Plug in 0, see if it works, plug in whatever different things. But this is the solution. Okay, next one here we went to. This one, people just got it backwards. This would come first. Plus 3x squared minus 2x minus parentheses x squared plus 3x minus 4. Now this distributes in, so this becomes x to the third plus 3x squared minus 2x minus x squared minus 3x plus 4. There's my x to the third. These two are x to the seconds, so plus 2x to the second. There's my x minus 5x plus 4. So there's the answer there. I'm going to go a little quicker through the rest of these because we did this. When we multiplied that, we have to FOIL 2 minus 3 squared of x times 2 minus 3 squared of x. You should be able to do the work and get this as your answer, number 3. Next problem here. This one is easily done on a calculator, but even if you don't have a calculator, basically it's going to be a is 3, so it's going to be 3 to the negative 2 power. I would use parentheses here if I'm going to use a calculator. And then we're going to say negative 2 to the negative 3 power. I'm not going to go through that. We did that enough. That's the answer there, number 3. This one here is a little tricky. The correct answer is this. We're going to go over some shortcuts to that next week. This one is simply FOIL, and what happens is this gives you 9, and then it gives you minus 3 square root of 5, and then these guys give you, these guys give you plus 3 square root of 5, and 5 times square root of 5 times square root of 5 is 5, so minus 5. 9 minus 5 is 4. This one, many people did well. 80% was a nice job. We could have still missed a few. The cube root of 64 is 4, so right now I'm crossing off these two. And then I look at this 8 to the 16th. There's five groups of 3, so 8 to the 5th is going to come out, and this leaves me with 1a, so that's the answer, number 3. Number 4, this is just plugging numbers in to see what works. 0 works, 1 works, and negative 2 works. We can go through that again later. There's factoring that can be done as well, but you can also just plug numbers in. I want to get to the later ones. We did this one, and the answer was number 3 here, because we multiply by 3 minus the square root of 2 on top, and 3 minus the square root of 2 on the bottom, and that's what we get. I'm not going to go through that. This one, people struggled because the 12 was on the opposite side. So I would rewrite this. I would subtract 12x from both sides. So I'll have x squared minus 12x, leave a space, equals negative 7, because these are going to cancel from that side. And then the number that we're going to put in here will be plus 36, half of 12 squared. So over here I got to put plus 36. So the right side becomes 29. And the left side, we take half of this number, which is negative 6, and then square. So that's the answer there, right there, number 3. Okay, number 12, I'm just going to go, we just plug numbers in and see what works. It turns out both of these work. 1 works and 2 works, so there's 2 solutions to that one. Sometimes there's only one, sometimes there's no solution, so we just got to check them all. Okay. This one was a little disappointing when I saw this result right here because very few people got this question correct. To do this, what we want to do is first simplify this or put this in a form of a fractional exponent. So that's m to the 4 over 3. Remember, this number goes in the bottom. Times m to the negative 1/2. So that's going to be m to the power of 4/3 minus 1/2. And now we've got to figure out how we're going to combine those fractions with the calculator. We can do it directly, or if we wanted to use common denominators, 4 over 3 minus 1 over 2. The common denominator would be 6, so this needs a 2, and this needs a 3. So that becomes, hold on a second. Thank you. That becomes 8 over 6 minus 3 over 6. 8 minus 3 is 5, so 5 over 6. That isn't written there, so I have to translate. So it's m to the power of 5 over 6, because this is 5 over 6. I just showed that here. So that becomes, the 6 becomes, this number becomes the index, m to the 5th, and that's the answer right there. We got to get better than 22% for that one, of the people getting that right. This one here, 42% still not acceptable. What they do with this one, the answers are all written with fractional exponents. So what I need to do is write this one as 16x squared y to the 7th time to the power of 1/4, because this is a fraction. This goes on the bottom of the fraction. So that's that. So now I can distribute that exponent in here. So 16 to the 1/4, which is 4, which is not 4, it's 2. And then x to the power of 2 times 1/4, which is 1/2. And then y to the power of 7 times 1/4, which is y to the 7/4. And that's the answer right here. All right, we're moving on to now new ones. This one, we worked on this on Monday and Tuesday and did pretty well with this. We've got to first take this I out, so it's going to be 3i squared of 8. Sum means add, so plus 4i square root of 50. And now I got to deal with these i's. Not the i's, the square root, so it's 3i square root of 2 times 2 times 2 plus 4i square root of 5 times 5 times 2. And now with square roots, these guys, 2 of them together come outside. And so that's 3 times 2 is 6i square root of 2. And 2 of these come out, or one of them comes out, and they cancel out that. So that's plus 20i. What's going on here? 20i square root of 2. So 6 plus 20 is 26. So 26i square root of 2. All right, this one here, we're just going to look at this symbol right here, and there's an invisible 2 or an assumed 2 up there. So this would be 0.094 or 0.09. What's going on here? 0.094 times a to the power of 3 over 2. Remember, this number is the denominator for the exponent. So that would be this one right here. This one here, we want to look at I to the 27th and I to the 34th. I to the 27th, I look for powers of 4, or multiples of 4, multiples of 4 that are below 27. And the closest one is 24, so that's I to the 24th, which is just 1. That's a 4. And then there's 3 left over, so it's the same as I to the 3rd. So this basically is I to the 3rd, which is negative I. And I to the 34th is close to, 34 is just above 32, which is a multiple of 4. So that's going to be I to the 2nd. So that's going to be plus negative 1, or negative I minus 1. That's the answer they're looking at. They didn't write it in the proper, why is this doing this? They didn't write this in the proper form. The proper form would have been to say negative 1 minus I, but either way, this is the correct answer. All right, next one here. The conjugate of a number, of a complex number, such as this, the first number stays the same, the second sign changes, not the first sign. So it's going to be negative 2 minus 3i. This is an automatic problem that's going to be on your Regents exam that everybody should get. Okay, we don't change this. A lot of people put this answer here with thought they changed both of them. That would be the opposite, not the conjugate. Okay, this one here, there are a couple of ways to do this. You can plug the numbers in directly. Just start plugging in 4, and this is what I'm going to suggest you do mathematically. There are other ways to do that. I'll do it mathematically first. That would be square both sides. So that's going to be 5x plus 29 equals x squared plus 6x plus 9. This is what I get when I do FOIL here. Now I'm going to subtract 5x. And that gives me 29 equals x squared plus x plus 9. And now I'm going to subtract, that's a 29. I'm going to subtract 29. So 0 equals x squared plus x minus 20. And I'm going to bring that up here. And then I'm going to say 0 equals parentheses x and x. I'm looking for numbers that multiply to 20. Now multiply to 20 and subtract to 1. That's 5 and 4. The bigger number gets this symbol right here, so that's going to be a plus, and this is going to be a minus. So now I check both of the answers. So that means x plus 5 equals 0, or x minus 4 equals 0, because we have two things that multiply to be 0. This is one thing. This is another thing. They both multiply to be 0, which means one of them is 0, and it doesn't matter which one. So if this is the case, then x equals negative 5. If this is the case, then x equals 4. So there's my two solutions, but I got to see if they're solutions to this equation here, not this equation here. So when I plug in negative 5, it doesn't work, because 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. So the square root of negative 25 plus 29 equals negative 5 plus 3, and that's not true, because this is negative 2 over here. We got the square root of 4 equals negative 2. It does not, so negative 5 is not a solution. So now when I try 4, 5 times 4 is 20. 20 plus 29 is 49. Square root of 49 is 4 plus 3, 7. So 4 is the only solution to that problem. Okay. This one here, what we want to do with a negative exponent is write this as with a positive exponent, so that goes to the bottom as 2a parentheses to the fourth. We keep the parentheses in there because the whole parentheses thing is raised to the negative 4 power. So this is what I have. So that's 1 over 2 to the fourth times a to the fourth, which is 1 over 16a to the fourth. And then we move on to this one here. Most people have been pretty good, and this was a decent showing here. We can get a little better, but that's pretty good. Quite a few people got this correct. Max solves a quadratic by completing the square. He shows a correct step. What is the solution? The solution now would be x plus 2 squared equals negative 9, is to take the square root of both sides. So if he takes the square root of this side and the square root of this side, remember when you take the square root, it's plus or minus. So that becomes x plus 2 equals plus or minus. Now the square root of 9 is 3, but that's negative 9, so that's going to be 3i. So now I got to get rid of 2, so I subtract 2, so x equals negative 2 plus or minus 3i. That would be the solution to that. Negative 2 plus or minus 3i right there. Okay, let's move on and finish this up. 22, which step can be, this isn't a bad job, which step can be used in solving this thing? We're going to go through the steps. I'll leave a space, equals 25. I add 25 to both sides. And these cancel. And so then I will figure out what number is going to go here. To do that, I take half of this number. Half of this is negative 3. Negative 3 squared is 9, so plus 9. So over here, plus 9. I'm sorry. Yeah, plus 9, that's right. So that's going to be, right, we're done. This is what they're looking at. X squared equals 25 plus 9. So that would be my equation right there. I don't have to finish it. I'm looking for a step. This is one of the steps. The next step, by the way, would be x minus 3 squared equals 34. But they're not asking us to fill it. They're just thinking which would be a step. This would be a step right here. Okay, let's do 2 more problems. Solution set of this one. There's a couple of different ways to do this. I'm going to suggest right now we start plugging numbers in. Let's plug in 0 and see if it works. So absolute value of 4 times 0 plus 6 minus 4 times 0 equals negative 10. Is that true? 4 times 0 is 0. So that gives me absolute value of 6 minus 0 equals negative 10. So 6 equals negative 10. It does not, 0 is not a solution. So that means this is not a solution either. Let's see if 1/2 works. Absolute value of 4 times 1/2 minus or plus 6 minus 4 times 1/2 equals negative 10. Let's see what that is. 4 times 1/2 is 2. Absolute value of 2 plus 6 minus 2 equals negative 10. So the absolute value of 2 plus 6 is 8. So the absolute value of, let me move this down a little bit. So I get the absolute value of 8 minus 2 equals negative 10. That's 8 minus 2 equals negative 10. That's not true either. So 1/2 doesn't work. So there's my no solution. There are other ways we can do this, but that's what I'm going to go with right now. This one here, when negative 3 minus 2i is multiplied by its conjugate, the result is, now this is a little disappointing that only 60% got this correct. Negative 3 minus 2i, the conjugate of this is negative 3 plus 2i. So to do this now, I got to do multiply binomials, so we know that as FOIL. The first two numbers are these two. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. And these two, negative 3 times 2i is minus 6i. And then negative 2 times negative 3i is plus 6i. And then negative 2i times 2i is minus 2i squared. Excuse me, minus 4i squared. Because 2 times 2 is 4. Let's make that a little better. Minus 4i squared. So this becomes, at this point, these two are going to cancel out. 6i minus 6i is 0. So 9 and minus a negative, this is negative 1. I squared is negative 1. So negative 4 times negative 1 is plus 4. So that equals 13. So there's the answer to number 24. I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to finish with the multiple choice. And I'll make another video and send that as well with the short answer problem.